a very easy lesson in strength-based learning that is made for an elementary school and actually the first year of the elementary school. And we're going to focus also on another lesson for the elementary school, so that you have a clear sight on how does it work when it is quite simple. We already discussed the previous time a lesson where the focus was on elementary education, but also the lesson of Antigone, who was for secondary education. And I will show also how your evaluation form changes if you work with students of younger age. And after that, we're going to put the focus on how to build your rubrics and how to build your evaluation form. And the last part of today will be what is your attitude to coach your strength-based lessons in practice. And there I will focus also on the differences between the different ages if you work with strength-based learning. Okay, I'm going to share a first lesson. Yeah, it's this one. Okay, I hope you can see it. And actually, it's very simple because it's about adding and subtracting to 10. So it's really for the first year of the primary school. And here you see the goals. The first goal, adding up to 10, is for the first part of the lesson. Subtracting to 10 is for the second part. And combining addition and abstraction is the third part, where we are working with the two other parts together. For materials here with these very young children, we do not work with.
Carol, I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. Can you magnify it a little bit because it's a bit too small?
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah, it's better
No,
like
it's
this.
very good. Yeah. Is this better?
Yes, better.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, so with this young age, we do not work with the form that you have seen before, that I have shown before, which is divided in what am I doing, how do I do it, and help and feedback. But we make cards of it, and we use different colors. For the blue, we use what? For the green, for the how we use green, and for help and feedback, we use yellow cards. And these young children know that they have to combine a blue, a green, and a yellow card. With these cards, they go to the teacher, and the teacher connects these different parts together for them. And on the cards, we work with a little bit of text because they just started to with reading. And we use words combined with little drawings to make the exercises clear. Yeah, and students also need pen and paper and a Maths cube. It's a kind of box where you have different very little cubes. For a cube for 1, a cube for 10, a cube for 20, for example, and they can work with it to help them for adding and subtracting. The lesson before, or the Jotline event before, I explained very quickly the rubric that is built on observation, imitation, creation, and originality. And you see over here that each part of the lesson has one line in the rubric, the evaluation rubric. Sums up to 10, subtracting to 10, and combining the two. And observation is most of the times you see what the others are doing, but you cannot do it yourself. Imitation is you can do what the others are doing. Creation is you can play with it, make your own things with subtracting and adding. And the last part is that you really can integrate this in other situations where you use other strengths of yourself to do this. Okay, and this is the first part of the lesson. It's short, and it starts like a normal lesson. Make these exercises, and you have 4 exercises with adding to make. Yeah. The second one is make up your own 4 exercises with plus. The outcome should be 7 each time. Yeah, and there we ask the children to think, how can I make different sums, but the outcome has to be 7. Huh? The next one is one where you have to do something. You have to walk around in the class, and you have to add up 2 different things each time. For example, tables and windows, or chairs and plants, things like that. And you have to stay under 10. And the last one, make up 6 exercises with plus and get 2 wrong. Yeah. And this is something which is not usual in education, that we ask children to do things wrong. But if we ask them to do things wrong, then they have to think first what is right. And we are focusing on the metacognitive strategies with these exercises. I have to be sure what is right, to know what is wrong, and otherwise I cannot do this exercise. In the how, also very simple, I work alone. I pretend not to understand the other one explains, I make it difficult. Yeah, or I'm not making this exercise, I'm going to watch someone else make them. Yeah. And here we have used 3 different ways of working together. Or working alone. This one is put in the lesson because a teacher can see who can do it alone, who cannot do it alone at this moment. And the last one is for children who cannot do the exercises quite good, but they want to learn by observation. So there's also a way to play with how to do it in this in strength-based learning. Uh, yeah, and here in the help and feedback, someone taps on my back. I make time for a question about this lesson. Yeah. If I use this, someone else can come to me and ask a question. Second one, I correct half and let the teacher check. Then I make the other half of the exercise. Yeah. And all these exercises, you have to do it more than once, so we can split them in 2 parts, actually. Yeah. And here, after 3 times, I choose what I found most difficult myself. I ask someone else if it is correct. Yeah. And you see that these 2 help and feedbacks are connected. If I choose this one, I can tap on the back of someone else. If I'm tapped on my back, I can help the one who has chosen this exercise. Children of this age, when we did it in classrooms, are very motivated to work in this way. They really, for them, it's really fun to do it. And you have a lot of interaction between students, between children, between the teacher and the children, and they learn a lot this way. If we go to the part of subtracting, we start in the same way, make these exercises, and then we change a little bit. Make up 3 exercises. The first number is always 8. Start with 10. Subtract a different number each time. Your final result is 0. Yeah? And make up a story about John the greengrocer. Use 3 times minus or min. Draw pieces of the story so you can tell it later. So here we ask students to make little drawings of, they have to make a kind of cartoon actually to do this exercise. Use your calculation cubes for minus is more difficult, so they need it more over here. Here work in pairs, one interviews the other. Your virus is the microphone. The interviewer asks questions. How exactly do you want to do it? Why do you do it this way? and we stimulate students to make it difficult in the questions for the other child or the other student. Yeah, and you distribute the calculation cubes. You should take turn using arithmetic cubes. You should take turns using arithmetic cubes. So they have to do it with two, and one is using the other not, and then the other way around. Yeah. And over here, the teacher comes in the help and feedback part. The teacher comes along and says how many exercises you got wrong, but not which ones. It's more difficult than when the teacher tells you what is wrong. You swap your exercise with someone else. They will check for you. You discuss the mistakes together. When reviewing, make use of your calculation blocks. And in the last part, there we have plus and min together. Make 4 exercises, use plus and min, work with 3 digits. Make 3 exercises, uses plus and min, work with 5 digits. Make 4 exercises plus and min, solve them yourself, but make 2 mistakes. And here you see that we are combining the first 2 parts of the lessons. Solve them yourself, give them to someone else, put all the class exercises together and choose 4 to make. With the groups of 3, check all exercises, even that consult the teacher, and you get an exercise from someone else, check them, and make another ending with a similar outcome. Yeah. So here we are really going to the part of integration, creation, and they have to show the teacher actually that they can use these 2 skills from adding and subtracting together. This is a way where we make a lesson for very young children with strength-based learning. And what's interesting, again, if you change this part, the what, with other exercises, or you use another objective in mathematics, for example, something which is much more difficult for secondary education. I don't know in English, Pythagoras, the axioma of Pythagoras, for example. Then you can actually hold how do I do it and help and feedback, and just change this part to have another lesson. Yeah, and that's also interesting. You don't have to make the whole lesson again. You can reuse parts of the strength-based lesson for next times. And actually, students like this because some of the exercises, they think, oh, that was really fun. Can we do it again, please? Maybe do it again. And if you reuse exercises, you come to them with what they want to do in your lesson. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat, or you can ask them anyway. So please, if you won't interrupt, go for that. I'm going to stop sharing, and we're going to the evaluation form. Because that's also different than from secondary education. And you see how you can make it more simple. What we do a lot is using the simple forms for evaluation at the beginning in strength-based learning, and then let the students work with that so they so they really know how it works. And afterwards, we go to more difficult evaluation forms. Yeah. And here you see at the beginning that you have the same as in the other lesson. We explained there that if you work with these feelings, you have an evaluation of your lesson which is not connected to the goals of the lesson. Yeah. And students have the opportunity to tell what they want about their lesson. Yeah. If they start from these different feelings, then they tell you when they felt this feeling in your lesson. And this makes that the evaluation is focused on the lesson itself and not something else that happened that day. Here you have the different things that they have done in the lesson. Plus to 10, minus to 10, plus and minus to 10, helping others, answering questions. It's very simple, but actually in their head, this is what they have done in this lesson. Yeah. The goals of the lesson, very simple, written down, plus to 5, plus to 10, minus to 5, minus to 10, helping others, asking questions. And how did you do it? We are not asking them to write something down, but just put a little cross in the part that belongs to them. And you can stop in the beginning over here. And if you explain to them the OICO principle, observation, imitation, creation, originality, students of the first grade in elementary schools can really use these ways to talk about themselves. We even use it in the preschools for children from 4 years old, and also they can learn to use these words in an adequate way. So it's really not so difficult, but it needs training. Normally, you have 5 to 7 lessons or evaluation forms because they are really adapted to the concept. They really know what the different words mean, and then you can use it frequently further on. Yeah. For the children of the first grade, you have these questions over here. And what we do is not ask, we do not ask them to write it down, it's not possible, but we ask this if they have this done, if they have completed this part, yeah, then we ask them in group for the whole class, what did you learn? Yeah, if you used one of these, if you learn by observation, who learned by observation? The students put their hands up and we ask to them, what did you learn by looking at the others? And we let 1 or 2 students or children answer this question. Yeah. And we do the same for the other questions. What are your challenges? What can you do better? Where can you improve? And we ask that to the whole group, and some students are answering. Why is this important? Because you give the others the opportunity to learn by observation and imitation. Yeah? The strongest students will, at the beginning, will give these answers to you, and the students who are not that strong, who have to learn this still, they learn from the answers of the other students. We also used this form, and with minus, 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 plus, and double plus, also in evaluations in schools for special needs education. Yeah, and also there it works quite well. It's comprehensible for them. And yeah, also there after a while, they know exactly what they have to write down. Yeah. And of course, you have students who have the tendency to underestimate themselves. They choose for the red and the yellow parts of the evaluation. Others who are overestimating themselves, they use for the green. Go for the green and the blue part. But that's not a problem. That's a part of the learning process. Yeah, it's interesting that you give them the opportunity to learn them to evaluate themselves. They cannot do it right from the first time, but if you use it frequently, you have the possibility to say, yeah, but you say that you are very good in plus, but if I look at you or if I observe you, I saw that you have made a lot of mistakes. So maybe the plus plus is too much. Can you put your evaluation somewhere else, and what will you choose? And in this way, we learn students' self-evaluation actually. Okay. Last part of this evaluation is the teacher form. and you know already that it's more or less the same as the form of the students. Yeah. And the only difference is that you have that question at the end: what do I need as a teacher from you as a child to do this better? Yeah. And here you cannot do this for all the students. What we do in this first grade is that the teacher chooses, for example, 5 children, and he completes this form for these 5 children. The next time, the teacher chooses 5 other children and completes the form for these 5 children, and in this way, everyone gets a kind of formal feedback of the teacher. Yeah. But for these young children, the feedback that they get from you as a teacher, as a coach of their learning process during the lesson, is much more important than this evaluation form. Actually, we use this evaluation form more to learn them evaluate themselves than see it as an objective evaluation of the lesson. Yeah. Therefore, you use a test just like you always do, because they have to do it actually, they have to do it finally alone. So the test is also something that they do alone and is not the third part of a strength-based lesson. Okay, I'm going to show another example, and this is a lesson about children's rights and creative writing. Yeah, and actually it's a kind of variation on the lesson that we discussed in the previous short learning event. And here you explore children's rights, which ones exist, how many exist, and what is in them. You group your children. You can group children's rights under the 3 Ps. You give examples of situations concerning children's rights, and actually this lesson is made for third grade and for the primary school or the first grade of the secondary school. And in the last part, you have goals about writing persuasive texts, experiment with the elements of it, and write a letter or a pamphlet to someone. This lesson is based on Street Smart Learn. Actually, it's kind of learning platform for youth professionals, children, and it's there. A lot of these children's rights are explained in a very easy way. And we use children's rights as a search term on Google, for example, or a browser. And writing persuasive text, we have a YouTube film where you can watch, or where the children can watch what they have to do. Is there a question? There's a hand rising. Yeah, Maria?
Carl, it's me. Sorry to interrupt again. Can you magnify a bit your screen because it's
Sorry.
Much better.
Yeah.
Sorry for the interruption.
No problem.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, an older age, so we have more sub-skills in the rubrics. I'm not going to read this all, but exploring children's rights is the first one. Grouping them in the 3 Ps, or violated and respected rights, is the second one. Talking about feelings, if it's about the rights of children. Experimenting with elements of a persuasive text, and writing a pamphlet or a letter. Yeah, you will see that in this list of sub-skills, we don't have clear objectives for this last part. If they write a pamphlet and they can make a pamphlet more or less experimenting with the elements of persuasive texts, for this grade, it is okay. Yeah, if you go to the second grade of the secondary school or the third grade of the secondary school, then you have restrictions about how this pamphlet or how this letter has to be written. Yeah, and that's important. You have to choose really your goals connected to the age you are working with. Okay, and here in this lesson, you see again, what am I doing? How will I do it? And asking for help and feedback. And the throw the colored dice and afterwards listen to the story of the character that has the same color by scanning the QR code is referring to the website of Street Smart Learn. Yeah. Here you have looking at 3 different situations presented in the poster and discuss what you see concerning children's rights. The poster is on the website of Street Smart Learn. Yeah. Find a news site or newspaper. They use Google. Look for an example taken from current affairs to which you can link one or multiple rights concerning protection. Yeah. This is an exercise by the 3 Ps: provision, protection, and participation. And the last one is one connected to their own experience. Yeah. Actually, this lesson is conceptualized in another way. We started from that Street Smart Learn website. We looked in that website what's interesting for this age to use, and we built the what am I doing almost completely on that learning platform actually. Yeah. And in the same way, you can use your handbook or another website who is oriented to children and use this input to build a strength-based lesson. Yeah. The only thing you have to keep in mind is that you reach the objectives that are fixed in your learning plan. Yeah. Okay, and the second part, we here have more variations. Yeah, violated means that the rights have not been fulfilled. Respected means the rights have been fulfilled or not, or that it has been promoted. Split your material into violated and respected. Yeah. If you have only one, only respected, for example, then you have to find 2 other examples. Play a situation in a role play is another one. Yeah. Sort 10 examples or situations according to the 3 Ps. Working by yourself, start from a situation or example, come up with a snapshot, image and text that you could send to someone who could help you. So we use Snapchat not in the lesson, but well, the concept of a Snapchat to work with them because this age knows what Snapchat is, of course. Yeah. And then come up with something you would absolutely not want to experience. What's your biggest fear when talking about children's rights? And write this down in 3 sentences. And here we go a little bit to the more vulnerable part of children's rights, where children are afraid of. And we see that in most of the times in classes that this connects the children and make the climate of the class more positive if you use this kind of assignments. Okay, choose the emotion that you feel the most when you're listening to one of the stories or situations. Talk this through with the group. Actually, this is linked to one of the objectives. Yeah. Imagine which emotion the person from the story or situations could feel. Name 2, again, connected to emotions. Yeah? Asking your teacher about the stuff your group is unsure about. Discuss this together. Create a reflection drawing. Don't draw something, but use lines and colors to express yourself. Discuss the drawing with 1 or 2 others of the group. Yeah. And here you see that all these assignments are actually linked to self-reflection and expressing emotions. And the previous time I told you that you only have to work with objectives for the first part of the lesson. Yeah. But here you see that you can choose your asking help and feedback assignments also linked to an objective. Yeah. And it's not a good idea to do this in the beginning for your first lessons that you make yourself, but here you see that it's possible to do this. And what is interesting in this way of working is that you can combine different parts of your learning plan and make different objectives connected to these different parts of your learning plan more precisely in a lesson. Yeah, this lesson is about learning about children's rights as one objective, but this lesson is also about express yourself, reflect about yourself, express your emotions, and there's also an objective that is really worked out in different assignments in this lesson. Yeah, and that is one of the big advantages, I think, of slang-based learning if you are familiar to work with this way of working. Okay, I'm not going to explain the other lesson parts, creative writing and persuasive text. You can find the lessons in the e-learning platform and go through it together. But also here, you can skip the first. You can skip the first assignments and use another content to put in this part and reuse this lesson again. Or you can reuse in other lessons parts of how we'll do it, or you can reuse asking of help and feedback assignments, so you don't have to invent them always again. Okay. Now we are going to the next presentation, and it's about those rubrics, how you can build them, and how you can. Yeah, I have to start my presentation. I hope it will work from here. Yeah. Okay. Maria, is it clear, the presentation? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay. It's about building rubrics and evaluation forms. And now we are in a little bit more a higher level of strength-based learning. Huh? And actually, the first lesson we did all the other ones. We did not experience an SBL lesson because it's not possible online. But we already discussed the didactic evaluation. We already discussed how to prepare a strength-based lesson, and now we are over here. Yeah. Okay, and rubrics and evaluation forms. What is very important is that you really understand the differences between strength-based learning rubrics and rubrics that we are used to in education. The differences are not so big, but you have to really keep very good in mind what these specific things are to make a good evaluation of your strength-based learning lesson and to stimulate students to use their strengths in their learning. Okay. The first things you already know, you have to start with what your desired higher order skill is, which is connected to the last part of the lesson. Huh? And then you start with an inventory of the possible sub-skills. If you have young children, you have less sub-skills, otherwise the lessons could be becoming too complicated. And you have seen in the lesson of creative writing and children's rights that we have more sub-skills, which is good for your, which is possible for them to handle. Huh? In the beginning, it's also interesting to just use one sub-skill for one part of the lesson for the first part, one sub-skill for the second part, and one sub-skill or one higher order skill for the last part. After that, you can make it more elaborated. And then you have to define for each sub-skill what is incorporated in the different levels. For example, what do you want to see in the behavior of the children if they are learning by observation? Yeah. And the criterion is students does not really participate in the assignment. They observe what the others are doing. If there was homework, they didn't make it. Yeah. And that's the first part, the observation part. Yeah. This is something else than students who are not participating. They are not observing the others. They are doing something else. They're looking outside the window. They are playing with things on their desk, and they are not participating. That's something else than learning by observation. Yeah. In imitation, the students copy what others are doing. They recycle the examples that you have used or that they have seen before in other lessons, and you see only slight variations uh, of similar outcomes that you have already done before. Yeah. And what's really important is that you're not asking the students to invent things by themselves, to be more creative, to do more their best, because at this moment they are learning by imitation. They are really learning new things by using the things the others and you as a teacher already have done. Yeah. And here you put down what did I did before in other lessons, yeah, and what is already shown by others or can be shown by others in this lesson. And this is the basic information to put in your subskill at the imitation part. In the creation part, there you said you are going to make the step two. Students who find their own solutions, new possibilities for the content of the lesson, playing with possibilities, experimenting with the possibilities. And this is only possible if your assignments allow to do this. If I have a quite classical handbook where all the exercises are written down and students have to do these exercises, most of the times creation is not possible. They just do what you ask them to do. You use imitation, and you use imitation always at a higher level for more difficult exercises. Yeah. The switch over here in strength-based learning is that you give them the opportunity to invent themselves. Yeah, invent 3 exercises where the outcome is 7 with adding, for example. And this possibility to invent is also a strength of some students. Students who want to use this strength or who are good in finding, in inventing things by themselves, become, in our classical way of education, most of the times difficult children after a while, because they want to invent and they may not use this strength in classrooms. And the last part is where you see students who going to use or you have to choose elements of what you can see of students who are doing things that you do not expect them to do. And here you can also rely on 2 things. One is, can they use the skill in an in a situation or a situation where they did not use at this moment or in the lesson till now. That's one possibility. The other is that, for example, is if it is about persuasive writing and they have to use convincing words, for example, and you had another lesson where you were talking about, for example, using imperative. Yeah, they already know how to use an imperative, and you can put the imperative and using convincing words together. in the part of originality. Yeah. So for originality, you use or new situations or skills they already have mastered before and they can integrate with this skill in this lesson. What are the pitfalls if you make rubrics? The first one is that you have to avoid words who are indicating levels. Yeah. And you see a lot of rubrics where the headings are this is a poor use of the subskill, you do it more, you did it better, you did it excellent. But these words are interesting and for a teacher, but a student uh, does not know what he has to do to gain a higher level, to go to a higher level. These words are too subjective for self-regulated learning, and you have to try to write down what you want to see students do. So every rubric which I have to give feedback on, I I search for other words than quantitative words to make the evolution. And what we see is that students have really, they see what the next step is. And that is really important for self-regulated learning and for strength-based learning, which is a form of self-regulated learning. A second one is you cannot use the verb can. And if you go back a little bit in time, in Belgium actually, then every goal has to use the verb can. Yeah. And if you use this word, you're not focusing on what they are doing now. Because if I can do it, I don't have to show it. Yeah. And we ask them, show it. You have to demonstrate in your behavior that you can do it. Yeah. And if we see it, then it is okay. So I go always a second time to the rubric, and it's really difficult, but we are so used to use this verb that I have to do it, reformulate it myself every time I make rubrics, and I go very strictly again to a rubric to put all these words of this verb out of the rubric. Yeah. Third is the lower in the rubric. This means the more you go down in the rubric, yeah, the more you use combinations of previous subskills. Yeah, and that's very important for the integration part. Yeah, it's quite obvious in one lesson because you have 3 to 5 subskills, and in the last part you're going to combine these subskills together to one higher order skill. So you have to combine previous subskills. But if you make a rubric not for one lesson, but for a project or for your whole year plan, it's possible to do this. Then you have to take this very good in mind to make the higher order evolution possible for students. And this is really different if you think in terms of competences, yeah, where each competence is independent of the other ones, and there is no connection or there's less connection between these competences, so you are not going to the higher order skills. Higher order skills in competence thinking, of competence-based thinking, is another skill at another level, or another skill, or the same skill with a more difficult content. Yeah. And the combination of sub-skills in higher order skills is really important to take in mind. Yeah. And the last one is that you have to make sure that diverse behavior is possible. Yeah. If your rubric tells you that you that you reach the sub-skill if you can make, for example, these 10 exercises about adding. You put all the students together in the same behavior. They have to do all these 10 exercises. Yeah. You do not allow to use diverse behavior, so they cannot use their different strengths in your lesson. Yeah. And you have to rewrite the part that are too restrictive and lead only to one possible behavior. Okay. Yeah. We have I'm not going. I showed already some rubrics, so I'm not going to the rubric of creative writing. But this rubric actually was made at the beginning for students, for newcomers. Yeah, and it starts from storytelling actually. And here in Belgium, we have a lot of migrants coming from Arab countries where you don't have a kind of theater, but you have a very uh, developed culture about storytelling, about telling. Yeah. And we used the sub-skills of telling a story as a start of from creative writing, because in their heads they can tell things in their own language. Yeah, and they can use these sub-skills for creative writing before they can write in Dutch, which is the language over here in Belgium for our part of the country. Yeah, and if you make a rubric for creative writing, it goes really from a start from a newcomer over here to the end of secondary education, actually. Yeah, and it is interesting because students can see how they can go to excellent performance, how they can develop, how they can follow different pathways to reach new levels of excellence. Yeah, for example, a student who's really good in telling stories has already an idea about using time structure, for example. Yeah, it's not possible to use it in writing text, but he knows how it works in telling texts. And then if it is explained in the rubric that it is one of the sub skills of a writing tool, they can use the use of time structure in texts, for example, to make that creative writing text stronger. Yeah. Um, yeah. The other example was written down here. A student is good at analyzing text, can use in the observation modus uh, this capacity, this strength to analyze text, to see how writing works. And after a long part of observation, he makes a immediate step to creativity. And that's also interesting because these students use one of his strengths in a low learning level, actually, observation, but he really figures out how it works and then can jump to, he can skip imitation, he jumps to creativity, or he jumps immediately to integration. That's possible. Huh? And if students see how this works in rubrics, then they can really work on their strengths with a purpose, with an objective for themselves, with an ambition. And that's what we want to stimulate in strength-based learning. Okay. Yeah. And in this rubric of creative writing, did are the higher order skills. The higher order skill of creative writing is split into the lower order skills, and this is a list of it: associative narration, preparing the structure of a narrative, collecting and ordering materials for a story, writing with the goal or a purpose of a text, use time as space, use time as a structure, use space in stories, use literary devices, use an authorial point of view or another point of view, use genre or form, and use style. Yeah, and all these lower order skills are put together in observation, imitation, creation, and originality. Yeah. But for example, for if you want to write in a certain style, you have to use time, pace, and structure. Yeah, and that's style is actually a higher order than time, pace, and time structure. Yeah. Okay. What are you doing with knowledge in strength-based learning rubrics? And here you have to, yeah, actually, a competence, the definition of a competence of competence based skills is a competence is really a combination of knowledge, skill, and attitude. That's the definition of competence. Yeah, of competencies. And in strength-based learning, we are only talking about skills, okay? And skills are connected to strengths. If I want students to gain knowledge, the question is always, what is how will they use this knowledge in the lesson that I need? Do they have to learn it by heart? Do they have to use it in exercises? Yeah. Do they have to give definitions? Yeah. Do they have to recognize it in certain examples? Yeah. And this connection of the knowledge to how they are going to use it, this makes a skill of knowledge. Yeah. Um, for example, you are able to recognize the purpose of a story or text. There is that it's not necessary to know the definition of a purpose of a text. If you can recognize it, it's okay. Yeah. Over here, you're able to analyze stories in function of time warps, flashbacks, and flash forwards. You have to use this knowledge in analyzing stories. That's something else than giving the definition of time warps, flashbacks, and flash forwards. Yeah. And that's how we work with knowledge. But if it is important to know it by heart, to give the definition, then it will be a part of your rubric. Yeah. So it's not, we're not telling that you don't have to build knowledge. You really have to build knowledge, but you have to decide as a teacher for this lesson, where is the knowledge used for? Okay. Yeah, this is an exercise. We are not going to do the exercise now, the Jordan learning events. I'm going to look at the yeah. It's we are working an hour now, so maybe it's interesting to do a break from of 10 minutes and then go further. Is that okay for you? I hope so. Yeah. So we see each other back at 10 past 4 for CET and 10 past 5 for persons in Greece. Thank you very much. Within a few moments. Okay, we're going to restart the presentation. I saw in the chat that somebody asked, can we get a recording from the seminar? Yeah, Maria will make sure that it's available for everyone. Maybe not today, but within a few, yeah, probably tomorrow, I think it will be available. Maria, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's more or less what we decided. Okay, I'm going to reshare my screen. I hope it works because there was something wrong with my presentation. Okay, yeah, that was the point where we left the present, where we get into the break. But I think I already told this, and this also how you have to make originality and what we have to write down over there. We're going to the next part, and that's the part of diverse behavior. And I'm going to just explain this example over here. If for example, if you have to, if you are in a lesson about STEM or STEAM, where you're going to work with recipes for cooking, and you ask students to write down a recipe to fry eggs, diverse behavior is very limited because for everyone, the steps that you can use for frying eggs is more or less the same. Yeah. But when you ask them to write down an open-ended four-step recipe, yeah, students can vary in their words. They can use their cultural background. They can use their areas of interest. Maybe it's not about a recipe of cooking, but it's something to something else. For example, to make mortar to build a house. And this is how it works. So if you want to allow diverse behavior, your assignments are a little bit more general. Yeah. And that's important to take in mind to allow this diverse behavior to be used by students. Huh? Um, and here also is some kind of misunderstanding about creativity. Creativity comes from an assignment who is restricted and open in at the same time. Yeah. Here it is open because you can write a recipe about everything you want, but it is also restricted because it has to be in 4 steps. Yeah. Or 4 to 6 steps. Yeah. And this is restrictions that yeah, eliminates creativity actually. Yeah. If I ask students just to write down something, yeah, then I will not have creative answers. I will have more common answers of more the same answers of students. Yeah. And teachers who are telling that if you let students do what they want, they will be more creative. It's actually not right, and it's not. It will not work this way. You will have more common answers if you work this way. Okay, the story about can or is able to, I also explained it. Huh? So we're going to the last part of this presentation, then we go to coaching your class. Yeah. And maybe this last slide of this presentation is also important. Learning to evaluate for students is similar as learning to write. Yeah? It takes some time before students provide nuanced and reliable answers. Yeah. And here a story of one of the schools where I worked a lot is in this for this very interesting because I started with these evaluation forms in the school, and all the teachers told me, yeah, Carl, if you want to use it for my students, it's too difficult. You have to start a year higher than my year. But all the teachers said this from the 4 years old to the 12 years old. Yeah. And then you know that it's not about it's too difficult for my students, but it's about teachers have to have the patience to allow the learning process about self-reflection for students. Yeah. And another thing that's important is that if students start in observation imitation, yeah, they will give at the beginning common answers and more the same answers. But that's also a part of the learning process. You get nuanced and different and diverse answers only after a while if they are all in the face of creativity about self-reflection. Yeah, and I already told you it takes 5 to 7 lessons to make this happen. Yeah. And the last thing, which is important for you as a teacher, if you observe diversity in their answers, you know that you can move to the next step. Yeah. And also, this is important because you know at that moment the students are inventing themselves. They are using the skill at a higher level. So you know that if you take too long for this step, the assignment will be boring or will become boring because they already used all the possibilities that they have. Yeah. So once you are in diverse behavior by the students, you know that they can move to a higher level of the subskill or a new subskill. Yeah. And maybe a last one, it's always interesting not to judge what students are doing, but observe them and reformulate for them what is the next step. So it does almost not happen that I say to students, this is not good. I say always, this is what I see, what you're doing. Uh, this is a possible next step for you. Yeah, and I'm not talking about good or bad, or you can do it or you cannot do it. I try to avoid these kind of words. Okay, um, we are going to the next presentation now, and that's about strength-based learning in your class and how you can, how do you have to coach, what you have to do to coach a strength-based lesson. I going first quickly to my Explorer to open the presentation. Then I come back to you to share. Okay. Okay. Uh, I hope you can see it. Here it looks like it has to look, but I cannot. Yeah. Okay. Preparing your first lesson for your class. So we make difference between the first lesson that you're going to do in strength-based learning and the next lesson. Because the first lesson, there's a lot of things to learn for students by the structure of a strength-based lesson, actually. Yeah. And here we want to give some advice for how to make your first lesson happen because students are going to react as if they are in a normal lesson that you give in your normal curriculum. And a lot of these reactions are not useful for strength-based learning. So they have to learn working with strength-based structures, actually. Okay? So this is the last part over here of our joint learning event. I'm going to look quickly at the time. Okay, that will I can make it, I think. Oh, there's somebody in the lobby. Yeah. Oops. Okay. If you start with your first lesson for your class, there are some things that are coming into play. The age of your students is important, and the impact on what is didactical possible or not. Yeah. Your habits in preparing lessons and and things that don't always fit with your with strength-based lessons and the way they are made. And you maybe will also have a feeling of uncertainty and that can block you in your preparation or in your first step in strength-based learning. This feeling of uncertainty in strength-based lessons, if you do it for the first time, is really, really normal. Huh? For me too, if I did it for the first time, it was really, yeah, I was really afraid. Will it work? Will it not work? And I think that's always the case if you start with something new or if it's really new for you. Huh? It also depends on your class and their social and emotional skills. Because if you have a class who can work quite good together, who are really caring for each other, who have empathy, you can imagine that a strength-based lesson is a lot more easy to give than a group where you have a lot of difficulties, where there are problems, where there are a lot of conflicts. And actually, my advice is that it's important to work first on the necessary socio-emotional skills in more normal lessons and with exercises used for working on these themes, then trying to solve it with a strength-based lesson learning. It will not work. It really, there are some things which are important, which you have to keep in mind. They must have a kind of openness to the world. That's something that's important. The majority of the students have to have a kind of point of rest in themselves. So they have to that they feel comfortable and at ease to work with strength-based lessons. And the third thing that's important is they have to have a good level of concentration to work together with the others. Yeah. If there are some students who don't have this, it's not a problem. If you have a majority of students who don't have these three things, these three sub-skills actually on the social emotional level, it becomes difficult to use strength-based learning lessons. Yeah. And the last thing which is into play is your strength as a teacher. Yeah. You have to switch from maybe you have to switch from an attitude of giving lessons for a class and standing at the front of the class to a role as the coach of the learning process. Yeah. And this switch is not always easy for some teachers, for others they're used to it, but that's something that you have to keep in mind. Okay, yeah, we're going to first focus on the age. Yeah, if you are in grade 1 or 2, yeah, you work with groups of 2 or 3 members. Yeah, and you will see that from grade 5 to 6, it will be 4 to 6 group members, and it can go to 10 group members in the last years of the secondary school. Yeah. But for secondary education, our advice is to start with 5 to 6 group members because 10 group members gives too much opportunity for students who don't want to work to hide themselves. Yeah. And a group of 5 to 6, it's not so possible. You really see it as a teacher quite immediately who is working and who is laying back. Yeah. In the first grade, we know that it is not really possible for these children to work in bigger groups than two or three if they have to work together on some tasks. Yeah. Okay. Um, Here we say work with pictures for the assignment. I already explained it with the lesson with adding and subtracting. Writing on small papers, spread them over the tables. Making assignments more concrete by using specific material. For example, the cubes in the less of maths, yeah, of adding and subtracting. You better start with two assignments to combine instead of three. So you start with the what and the how. And if they are used to combine how and what, then you can put the third one within the help and feedback. Yeah. And use different colors for these three. For 3 to 4, the grade 3 to the 3 4, grade 2 and the years 3 4 actually, yeah. You can use already the worksheet template, yeah, but you have to keep your assignments quite simple, yeah. And the lesson of adding and subtracting is actually a good example. Um, and you better start with listen if you start only with one part, yeah. So only the first part of the lesson. You give some normal lessons again. The next time once again, one part of a lesson. And after two of three parts, you go to two parts of a lesson. And after that, you go to three parts of the lesson. So it takes also 7 to 8 lessons before you can work with lower order skill, and then the combination with the third part with the higher order skill. Yeah. And you have in this age group, you have to be very careful about the students who take the lead of the work or want to control the work, because these leaders are not always give enough opportunities to the others to learn. Yeah? And especially in primary schools, in the second, in 3 and 4 and 5 and 6, so the second and the third grade, you really have a problem with your, you really have, you can have a problem with your smart students because they are used to know the answer before the other ones. So they want to take the lead, they want to take the lead to give the right answers, yeah, but they block the learning process of the others in strength-based learning. And we have to work with them, of some of them, sometimes to give the work to the group, to take another kind of leading role, to give opportunity to the others. Most of the times they can do it quite easily, but they have to make mind switch to normal lessons. Yeah. That's the same for 5 and 6, where you can go to groups for 4 to 6 if you want. Yeah. And here it's important that that students who are always changing the subject of discussion, yeah, are actually not working. Yeah. And this is something at this age which is important, because some of the students have a little bit the mindset, oh, the teacher is not leading the lesson, so it's a kind of free time. So we can discuss what we want. Yeah. And they have to learn, no, there's a topic, you have to stay on it. The teacher is not going to say you that you have to stay on the topic, but you have to be concentrated and do it yourself. And that's a kind of switch that is difficult for some of the students in the third grade of primary education. Yeah. Secondary education, you can start with groups of 4, 5, and after then 6. If you start smaller, it's easy for them. And you have a more variety in self skills. All that's also the case. This is the age where the girls are faster in their development than boys. So that's a kind of a challenge. that you have to take into account over here. But normally they can manage. Huh? And from the third and fourth year of secondary school, or the second grade of the secondary school, there you have a switch in their development, where they are more oriented to each other, and they want to experiment with relationships, and they want to experiment with rules. Yeah, that's a part of their development, actually. That's why they're some very difficult in education. And you have to use this experimenting of this will to experiment to turn it in a good direction for your strength-based lesson. And what I do is always give them room for negotiation. Yeah, because giving room for negotiation is giving room for experimenting with the relationship with you, and it's good for giving room for experimenting with the rules that you have set of that you have built for the lesson. And I always say in strength-based lessons, give them the opportunity to play false. And if you give that opportunity to them, then they will do what you actually have in mind. Yeah, that's how I work with it. Yeah. So provide ways to do things to cheat or to do these things differently in your lessons is very important. Yeah. And you can ask these students already, focus on one strength that you have, try to work with that strength in this lesson, choose one, for example, leading the group, for example, supporting the ones who are difficult, for example, use analyzing your analyzing skills to help the group. And we ask them also to make this explicit to their peers. But it's experimenting. Yeah, they don't have to succeed in it, but we discuss afterwards, how did it go? Did you use that strength? How was it for the group? What did they see if you use that strength? What did they not see? And this makes that groups are becoming more one thing, and they can rely more on each other. Yeah. And in the third grade of secondary schools, so year 5 and 6, there you can really use strengths, yeah, and to work with that in front of the group, and to ask the others to evaluate the strengths of your students, of that student afterwards. Yeah, but only if you installed already strength-based learning lessons, and they know how to use it. Yeah. And you can also ask them to choose roles with risks. Yeah, and of to experiment with new roles. And what's also important, students can work on their strengths, but they also can choose something which they are not so good in, and to experiment with that to become better in that skill. Yeah. And in groups of strength-based learning where we worked for a long period with strength-based learning, these things are developing almost by themselves. That's interesting, but you have to be aware of this to take it out of the things that are happening, and to highlight these things to help the others again to do this also. Okay. Yeah. Students' age and assignments. There are two ways of developing skill. Easy, work at the same level of skill by using different situations or variations in the same exercise of assignment. So what you're doing is you broaden the situations to exercise with a skill, and that's way of learning. Yeah. Another way of developing a skill is enhance the level of skill by making the exercise more difficult and more challenging. Yeah. And the balance between these two ways of developing a skill is very important for strength-based learning, because the easy way gives the opportunity to observation and imitation, yeah, and the challenging way gives the opportunities to creation and originality. Yeah. And if this balance is not okay in your lesson, you will lose some students in in your lesson. Yeah, they cannot make it happen. And if you use, for example, only the easy way, the more advantaged students find the lesson more boring. So that's something you have to keep in mind to keep in balance. But the younger the age, the more you have to work with the easy way of developing a skill. Yeah. And the same is also true with the third part of the lesson. The younger age, the smaller the difference between the skill that students need to combine. Yeah. So for my third part, I have to choose the higher order skill, and you can ask them to put things together which are really not connected at beforehand. Yeah, if you make the difference big, it's more difficult to combine these sub skills, and that's something for the older ages. Yeah, for the younger ages, you have to put these things more together. But most of the times, this is something that you as a teacher knows, because you know your students, you are used to work with that age, so you can manage this thing quite well. Okay. Um, yeah. Biggest pitfall in your preparation, unless you are an experienced as a strength-based learning teacher. Um, Do not prepare or imagine the third part of the lesson before you finish preparing part 1 and 2. Yeah. What we see is that teachers want to do something in the third part. The objective has to be clear. This is what I have to learn. But the activities may not be fixed at that moment. You have to finish part 1 and part 2, because there you have the information that you have to combine in part 3. If you already have an idea of the part 3, then it's very difficult to work on part 1 and 2 and to make that happen in part 3. Unless you have a lot of experience and you always can foresee how you go from 1 and 2 to 3 before you develop your lesson. So if you want it more, actually it's not about that you don't have a goal. You have to have that goal for that lesson. You have to have the objective. But we see a lot of teachers who see an objective connected to already existing activities that they have used before. And that's very difficult in strength-based learning. You have to really let this loss gone. You have to I don't know the word in English. You have to yeah, you don't have to do it actually. That's what I want to say. Okay. Uh, okay. Um, yeah. For your first lesson, it's more interesting that you choose something of your curriculum that you're familiar with and that you're used to do, because it gives you a lot of ease in your lesson. Yeah. And the big advantage of a strength-based lesson is that if it goes wrong, you can say to the students, okay, stop. This is not what I want to see. It's not enough for what we have to do in this lesson. We're going to stop the strength-based lesson now, and I'm going to make the combinations of the what, the how, and the help and feedback. And you go to a classical lesson or classical teaching to save the lesson actually. Yeah. And so for every string-based lesson, you can use every string-based lesson also as a lesson that you give in a normal way, because you can make the combinations and you can fix it for all the students and give the lesson as you want. Yeah. And this is also interesting because you can play with your strengths as a teacher. Yeah, if you know that you are very good in taking a group together, working with them as a whole group, and you see that it's not going like you want, use that strength. Yeah, play with your strengths. If you're good in observing students, use the moments that the students are working together to observe your students. If you're good in coaching, use these moments that the students are working to go to different groups, ask them what they're doing, give them tips to go further, and so on. Yeah. And if you make a list of your own strengths before you start, yeah, it really helps you to focus on what is important for you as a teacher to make this happen. Yeah, because strength-based lesson is not something that is so fixed that you as a teacher can only use some strengths, but you have also a lot of ways and kinds of differentiation to work with yourself. Okay. Yeah, and the switch to a direct instruction lesson or classical lesson is always an option if it's not going like you want it to go. And most of the time, if this happens, I I discuss it in a very uh, open way with the students. I can tell them it's not what it's the purpose of this lesson is. There are too many groups who are not working in a good way. We're going to stop now. I'm going to make another lesson where working together is more easy and where you have less possibilities to choose yourself. And now we go further with me, and I'm giving you the instructions that you have to do. And students really understand this. Yeah, they also see that it's not going well, and they also see that they are not developing or not going further in what the focus of the lesson is. Okay. Yeah, maybe one slide back. This lesson is in the e-learning platform, and this is a lesson where direct instruction and strength-based lessons are mixed together in one lesson. Actually, it's not a lesson; it's more a project. But there you can also see that the combination of direct instruction and strength-based learning is also a possibility. Okay. Yeah, already told this. Students have to have a focus, openness to the world around them, a feeling of calmness, of rest in themselves. And if your students have problems with these things, on the Teach Me website, which was a previous project about strength-based learning before this project, before Academia, there you see what you can do to there you have exercises to work with students on focus, openness, and the feeling of calmness. Yeah. And we have there a guide of strength-based learning, which gives you also a site on which environment do I use? Did I have to build for my students to work strength-based? What are other evaluations forms that I can use? What are, for example, week planners if I want to use it regularly? How can I structure my curriculum? All these things are on the Teach Me website. There you can find more information. Yeah. Yeah, and if you don't have focus, openness, and feeling of calmness, then creative learning processes are actually difficult. Not only strength-based learning, all the other creative learning processes are also difficult. Yeah, because these students who don't have these three things are uh, perceiving the world as a kind of chaos, yeah, and they don't have the anchors to direct themselves in the environment, and that's why it is not working. Yeah. So enhance these skills before you start with creative learning in general or strength-based learning more specific. Okay. And then the question is, are you ready for strength-based learning as a teacher? Yeah. First thing is very important. You as a teacher are also learning better by making mistakes. Your first lesson will not, hopefully not, be your best strength-based learning lesson. Yeah? Most of the times it's your best strength-based learning lesson if you stop afterwards and don't do it ever again. Yeah? I already said second point two, be honest with your students. Tell them that it's also new for them. And turn using STEM-based lesson in a class as a common journey. We as students and me as a teacher, we're going to work together in a new way. It's new for me. It's new for you. Maybe it does not work. We don't know at this moment. Yeah. But if we find together out how it works, you can give me feedback what you like, what you didn't like afterwards or during. But know that it is new for both of us. Yeah. And if you tell this in a very quite vulnerable way to your students, they want to support you. Yeah? And that's what makes it actually happen. Yeah. And if it does not work, or it is not working like you want to, go to the specifications of the lower age that I just showed you and start at the lower age with your groups. Some groups, even in third grade of secondary schools, are not ready to work in groups of 5 to 6. Yeah, so go to groups of 2 to 3. No problem. They don't know it. Yeah, uh, and strength-based lessons are working in groups. The groups are working with self-regulated learning, but you as a teacher cannot do something else during a strength-based lesson. You have to really running around, go to all the groups, observe what they are doing, make notes of the students, and these things are helping you to see what strengths our students are using, if you see diverse behavior or not. You see most of the times conflicts coming before they know that there is a conflict coming. So I always discuss this at beforehand. For example, I see your group is very good, is working very hard. You are taking the lead at this moment, but I also see that this student is not participating. I say it in advance to the group. I ask the students, what's the problem? Why are you not participating? And then they tell, yeah, I'm not in a good mood. I need some time. Okay, that's possible, but don't use all the time to lay back, for example. Yeah. Or they say, yeah, but they are deciding everything and I don't, and if I give an idea, don't want to use it. Then you have to go to the leader of the group. This is not the way how strength-based learning works. Everybody has to have to agree on what you are doing. Yeah, and these are the things that you have to do as a teacher. And you gain a lot of learning. Yeah, you can fasten the process of learning a lot if you know the strengths of your students too. Because you can help them in coaching moments afterwards, for example, to use strengths to bridge some of their weaknesses. And that's one of the big advantages of strength-based learning. Okay. Yeah. And this one is also very important. Students in strength-based learning are the specialists of their experiences and their process. Yeah. As a teacher, you're the specialist of the learning environment and you're the facilitator of the learning process. Yeah. So if I'm guiding strength-based lessons, I'm using two basic principles who are very important. And the first one is if I'm standing near your group and if I am observing your group, I am not there. You can ask me questions, but maybe I'm not going to answer. Yeah, and that's important because in normal lessons, students know that you know the answer. So if they don't know it, they will ask it to you. And in direct instructions, we are used to give the solution. Yeah? When strength-based learning, we tell them you have to find solutions yourself. Yeah? And especially in these strength-based lessons, you have the combination of three parts of an assignment: the what, the how, and the help and feedback. And these connections are not always very clear. And I always say to students, if you have a problem with the assignment, find a solution yourself, how you as a group are going to do it. And I check if their solution fits the objective of the lesson. If it fits the objective of the lesson, they can do it, even if it is something else that I had in mind. And that's also a way to stimulate diverse behavior. The second thing that I always use as a strength-based learning teacher is the message from above. Yeah, and this means that I see that in the lesson there's something going wrong, and it will be go wrong for all the groups because it's not written in a right way down in the lesson. It will happen in your first strength-based lessons because you cannot foresee everything that's going to happen in your class beforehand, especially not in the beginning for your lessons. Yeah, and then I say message from above. Everybody has to be quiet, and I tell them this is written down like this. This is wrong. You have to do it this way. Yeah, but I do this only for the whole group and not for specific groups. They have to solve the problem themselves. Yeah, and with these two things, it's very useful for your first strength-based lessons. And what you're saying also is I'm responsible for the learning environment and the lesson as a whole, but you are responsible for your process. Yeah? You have to make your process happen. And if the students are doing this, then they use their metacognitive strategies, then they take responsibility, and that's what you need to make strength-based lessons a joyful journey, something like that. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to stop sharing. I see two new reactions in the chat, but it's about recording. So I think we are finished. If there are questions, you can ask them. You can ask them in the chat, or you can ask them immediately by using your microphone. I will stay here at least till 6, maybe a little bit later if there are more questions. But after that, we will stop the recording. And thank you for being here. Is there somebody with a question? Okay. Maybe I have to tell that the last one, the mentoring session, that will be on the 16th of December. Then we are going to work the other way around. So then if you have a strength-based lesson, or if you have questions at that moment, or if you're going through the theory or the lessons that we have written down and that you can find on the e-learning platform, then you can ask questions about that, but I'm not going to give you more input or new theory in this last session. It's meant as a mentoring session, really. So we're going to discuss lessons that you have made or that you want to discuss yourself. Okay, I don't think there are any questions anymore, so we're going to stop the recordings and we will leave the meeting. I will close the meeting within some moments. I hope I can. Yeah, no, maybe I cannot. I will. Yeah, Maria, I don't know if you're there. Yeah, okay, so you can close the recordings, I think. Okay. Thank you, everyone, and bye bye. Have a nice evening.